Hello, I'm Amari Jones, and today is Friday, January 30th. This is Caffeine TV, your daily news brief, here to take you through 3 headline numbers in just 3 minutes, giving you a different take on everything from housing policy to the Real Housewives. The first number today is 27,000. That's the number of people who'll be participating in a new clinical trial for a new Ebola vaccine in Liberia. Hundreds of doses of the potentially life-saving vaccine have been shipped to West Africa over the past several days. Now, as we've spoken about here before, more than 20,000 people have been infected with the Ebola virus, and about half of them have died, but the world seems to have caught a break in the spread of the Ebola virus due to a combination of the fact that it's the rainy season in West Africa, which limits travel and contact, and the massive injection of Western aid. New Ebola infections have been brought down to a trickle, but many epidemiologists worry that this may just be a pause before the next wave, and there's new evidence today that Ebola researchers have revealed which might lend credence to that point of view. On BBC Radio, Ebola researchers said that the virus is mutating, perhaps learning to hide itself like HIV does, making transmission easier. So let's just hope that this new vaccine works. The next number up today is $2 million. Now, that's the amount of the bail set for Suge Knight in his latest run-in with the law. Why do I feel like I need to tread lightly in this segment? Yep, Suge Knight has landed back behind bars. Now, the incident in question began on the set of the new N.W.A. biopic Straight Outta Compton. Of course, N.W.A. was the LA-based gangster rap group which launched the careers of Eazy-E and Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, and which popularized hip-hop and transformed it and took it to a whole new level. Of course, N.W.A. was signed to Suge Knight's label, Death Row Records. Now, the altercation broke out where the film was being shot and then spilled over to a local burger joint where Suge Knight allegedly ended up running over one of the people there, killing them and then injuring others. His lawyer says that he'll be fully exonerated once the facts of the case are known. But of course, this isn't Suge Knight's first brush with the law. Back in 1996, he was behind the wheel when Tupac was shot. 1 year later, he ended up in jail for violating probation. And then when he got out from that, went back to jail in 2001. Just last year, he was arrested with Cat Williams for stealing a camera, allegedly. And then last summer was shot in the stomach 6 times at a pre-MTV VMA party. Now, while the rest of society may shake their heads at Suge Knight, the reality is that the rap that he put forward transformed rap's audience from one of being mostly black to one that's mostly white, and it's remained so. And so the truth of the fact is that we are all partly responsible for Suge Knight, and he tapped into a vein of our culture which still clearly is there. And so we actually may all be closer to Suge Knight than we want to admit. The next number of today is 50, as in 50%. Now, according to an op-ed in The Guardian, that's the proportion of NFL players who smoke marijuana, and there's a very simple reason for that. Science shows that smoking pot lessens the symptoms associated with concussions and other brain injuries. And of course, the NFL settled a large lawsuit recently with thousands of former players for the way in which they mishandled concussions in the past. But despite this contradiction, the NFL still suspends dozens of players each year for smoking marijuana, which is why former NFL players wrote an op-ed in the Huffington Post this week urging Roger Goodell to come up off it and allow marijuana to be smoked in the league. Now, what's interesting is that several years ago, Roger Goodell did say that he was going to be guided by the science on this, and that if the science proved that marijuana was fine, that he would give the green light, but he still hasn't. Now, Pete Carroll, who's the coach of the Seahawks, backs the players on this, and of course the Seahawks, a winning NFL team, play in a state which allows for medical marijuana. So in future years, if you see smoke rising off the field, you'll know why.